Hello, everybody, and welcome into this edition of the 2019 Area High School Football Preview, brought to you by Mountain Valley News and North Jackson Press. And in this edition, we're taking a look at Pisgah. Happy to have Coach Luke Pruitt of the Pisgah Eagles in the studio with us today. Coach, want to start out kind of like we do everybody else. You've had a year in the program now, and for those who do not know already, everybody that does not follow Pisgah football, I start off with everybody and just let you talk kind of generally about your philosophy of the game. Everybody, again, approaches it from their own angle. So just talk a little bit about, from the offensive and defensive perspective, what your philosophies are.
Well, first I just want to say thank you for allowing to do this and allowing the schools to come by and kind of promote our brand and promote area football. But we thank y'all for doing this. Offensively, it starts with the ball. We got to protect the football, whether it's center quarterback exchange, the running backs, the wideouts, we got to put it away. But the thing is I feel like every year it could change according to your kids. Right now we're under center. We're in the wing tee. But the line of scrimmage is very important to that. We got to protect the football in the line of scrimmage, and that's really what we preach, winning those two elements there. But like I said, we're in the wing tee, and we feel like that's what gives our kids the best chance of winning right now. Is under center the gap schemes. Defensively goes back to the ball. We want to create turnovers. That's the thing. We want to create turnovers. We want to run to the football. We've got to be able to tackle well. And also we've got to be, it's block destruction, playing good technique, sound ball, keep everything in front of us. If they're going to earn what they get, don't give them anything cheap. But it goes back to putting our kids in the best chance. If we're multiple, to say we're a certain thing, it could change from week to week. But we base out of the 40, 4-2-5, 4-3, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of names are different changed, but we're usually a 2-high shell most days. So that's something that that's where we are, and it's pretty much the same from the first year to the second year. It stayed the same, but that's pretty much where we are on philosophical.
Want to take a look at last year. You've had a year in the program now, and we're talking just a little bit about losses, to graduation and those kinds of things. But just, having a year at Pisgah now, and you got your kids to buy into what you're doing and everything. What are your takeaways from last season? Last season in your area, you got Sylvania, Plainview, and Pisgah. That was an extremely competitive, and we talked about around here, it was kind of an odd year because there were a lot of good, more than I ever remember seeing in my life last year. And again, we talked about this around here because we're getting the scores from everybody, here at the paper. There were a lot of teams who we knew had good teams, had good athletes, had skill, and the records just did not reflect. There were so many teams that were like 6-5, and even, teams were losing records that, and you look around, the regions, it was just so competitive last year. And of course, three-way tie coming down the stretch there, and between Pisgah and, of course, Plainview and Pisgah gets into the playoffs. But coming out of that, mentally, where's your team? What do you take away from last year that you think will benefit you this year?
Biggest takeaway, it was my first year. We got hired second week of May. We were able to have a few days in spring. We didn't play a spring game. We didn't feel like we were ready for that, and I thought that benefited us. But the biggest thing for our kids is they know what to expect.
Right.
That was the thing where we added coaches as the year went. But, the kids' expectations for practice, they know what it is every day, what we expect from them in the classroom, what we expect from them in the weight room. We've laid the groundwork. We feel like, and that's something that we've got guys, we had lots of graduation, but we've got guys coming back as experience. And that's something the first year, there's lots of things that you got to go through the first time, and I had to do things that I'd never done, for the first time, like get officials that I didn't have for our fall jamboree come to me. But anyways, back to where we are. But that's the thing to me, just the experience, where we are, and they know the goals that we have and what's laid out there for them. But graduation losses, you start on offense. We lost our quarterback, White wasn't at. He was a great leader for us. So we had to replace him. We lost 2 running backs. We lost John Barrett, that played fullback for us, and Kyle Young, that played halfback for us. We lost those 2 guys. We lost 4 of our offensive linemen. Cameron McCamey came in and started for us. Logan Allison, Chandler Patterson, Kate Griffith played center. Those 4 guys had lots of games under their belt. We lost 2 wideouts on offense. We lost Pearson Smith and Carson Wheeler that contributed for us on the offensive side of the ball. Another defensive back, running back was Dakota Goolsby that we lost. Nick Feltman was one of our return guys, started on defensive corner, played running back for us also. Those were guys that started. We lost 2 graduation. So we did have some holes to fill, and we felt like during spring and the off season, our kids put in the work and the effort, and we improved. We feel like we were in the right direction. I thought we had a really productive spring. We've had really good turnout summer workouts. We're excited about where we are. We just got back from JSU last week, and we felt like we improved at the 11-on-11, the OTAs, whatever you want to call it there. But heading into fall camp, we feel like there's a few more, maybe 1 or 2 question marks, but we got a lot more in place than this time last year.
Well, I know, especially at the high school level, of course, any team, but especially at that level, leadership is so important. And I'm sitting here listening to you calling out those names, and I'm thinking, man, are they going to have enough to have a team this year? Because all of those names you're calling out, I'm recognizing those guys. So from a leadership perspective, have you seen some guys in the spring step up to fill those roles? Because, sometimes the best leader on your team may not even be a starter.
Right.
It's just that positive energy in the locker room. And have you seen those guys mature and step up to fill those holes?
We have. That's something that we've had multiple guys step up, and that's the thing. Some of these guys, maturity-wise, has been the biggest improvement from year 1 to year 2. And that's the thing. They're trying to be a leader. We're trying to coach them to how to be a leader in the ways, what they need to do and what they don't need to do, or whatever that's in place. But we got kids that's trying, and that's something that every year is a new team.
Right.
It's got different dynamics with it, and that's the thing. I feel like the JSU camp helped us gel.
Getting into the upcoming season, 2019 season, again, the region was so competitive last year. And I know you guys have got the easier end on the front end. You open up with New Hope and Brindley Mountain, and certainly we don't want to write anybody off, but fortunately our reach doesn't go that far. But traditionally, not been as competitive, but that's got to be good as a coach. And of course, you can't take anything for granted, but especially when you've had losses like that and you've got a younger team, these guys stepping up, if you've got an opportunity to get them some confidence early, that's crucial. Of course, and I'm assuming I got this off C2C. I'm assuming the Eider, you will be playing Eider in the Jamboree.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Miles Keith in this morning talking about what he's trying to do up there, and you were talking about learning on the job, all the new responsibilities of head coach. He was joking this morning, and I'll pose the question to you. He said, I was always jealous of the head coach because his phone was always going off. He's always getting these texts and calls. He said, I always wanted to be that guy. He said, now I want to throw my phone in the river. Right. So has that been your experience?
You're a lot more popular than you were before. You have different things that you have to take care of that most time assistant coach doesn't have to do.
Right. Well, looking ahead, again, we got Eider, probably some question marks there. I know Coach Tinker always did a good job with them, and I'm sure they'll be competitive. Woodville, I don't really know a lot about Woodville. We've just started covering all of Jackson County this year since we're publishing the North Jackson Press, and we're going to include them in. You're actually the first Jackson County coach we've had in since we started this series, but just go down the schedule here. Talk a little bit about Woodville. You know more about them. You're going to open up with them on the road. What do you expect out of that?
Well, we go back first to the Jamboree with Ida with Coach Keith. You know, is there. They've had some guys they lost to graduation. I'm sure he might have talked about earlier this year. Maybe a little younger.
Right.
But Coach Tinker did an outstanding job. Happy for the opportunity that he was granted where he was. But one thing you think about Ida is they've always been physical. You know, they've always been a disciplined team, and that's something that I'm sure that Coach Keith will carry over to that. So, you know, we're not going to overlook anybody, but, you know, that Jamboree is important to us. You know, that's kind of the first opportunity we get from fall camp or from spring practice, summer to fall camp there. You know, when you go to Woodville, Coach Powell, JJ, went to Fife, does a really good job. He carried over some of the things that when he played there. You know, the hard-nosed team. They have a couple of skilled guys that are very athletic. One of them, I'm not sure, Davion's his first name, I know that, but last year he carried it in the fourth quarter.
I can't think of his last name. I know the guy you're talking about.
Yes,
though.
well, it was 35-0. It started the fourth quarter before we could get our guys back in. It was 35-21 because he went to the house. He has that ability. There's another kid that played quarterback some last year early, moved to wideout. I think he actually made All-State or honorable mention. They have a couple of linemen that are back that are very big guys. So that's one that you can't overlook, and you know that's what I tell our kids, we're not going to overlook anybody. So we got to go to their place. So that's something that's that we have to get on the road and do that, which the Ider game's on the road, but that's where that will be. We get to come back for Brindley Mountain. Don't know a lot about Brindley Mountain. They had some people get hurt last year, injuries, and I had to play some young guys at the end of the year. I know when we played them, Asbury had beat them last year at that point, so I know that's the game they have ahead of them. So early in the season, lots of things could happen, you know, different things. Right. So we don't know a lot really about them. We got to go to New Hope. New Hope got a new head coach, so they've had some turnover. I know I got a lot of respect for their head coach. He came from May Jemison as offensive coordinator. I've heard him speak at clinics. So if you know you're speaking at clinics, you know what you're talking about. Yeah, right. So that's something. But you know, our game, it was 7-0 with 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter against New Hope last year, and they were pretty much sophomore laden. Had a big old quarterback, big old offensive line. We were able to end up beating them 13-0, but that's another game that we're not overlooking. We got to go on the road there, so that's a tough place to win at. So we get Boaz at home. Got a lot of respect for Coach Sullivan. He was at Jacksonville State when I was there. Really good football coach, been different places. They had a very good season last year. They've had 20-something seniors, but they have a lot coming back. Talked to them, have had a few guys move in. The quarterback's back, good player. They have a new wideout that's moved in that's really good, a big old running back that's moved in, and I know a couple of guys from when they were in middle school that's there. So that's one that the schedule was in place before I got there, and I don't know if they'll be back on the schedule after this year there, because we had some guys get banged up that we didn't need to get banged up going into the stretch of the season, but that's kind of a point to kind of tell us where a measuring stick, kind of tell us where we are at that point. So that's kind of starts the first half of it. That's the first four. Then we get into our next door neighbor. We get section at home for homecoming. You have those distractions. It's homecoming week. Coach Hammond's new. Yep. Got a lot of respect for him and his older brother. Used to be at Valley Head. He's in Chattooga now. So Coach Hammond's been at Scottsboro. He's a defensive guy, hard-nosed guy. So section had some guys last year that we couldn't block. One of them's back. I'm not sure of his name, number 34. He was a good player, played defensive end. So that's something that They beat us last year. It was 7-6 at halftime. They ended up scoring twice later on. Coach Powell, I played with, Luke was there before, did a good job. So that's something that, you always want to beat your neighbor.
Yep.
It's homecoming. So, that's something that we've got to get back on the right track at that game. So we go from that point to
I was just looking at this. This looks like for you what Pat Dye would have called Amen Corner.
Murderers Row,
Yeah,
Amon's Corner.
yeah.
We at this point last year we were 3-2. We had some guys banged up. Section beat us. Boaz beat us. Then we get right into who won the region. Geraldine.
Yep.
And they have a lot back. We got a lot of respect for Coach.
Hard-nosed football team.
Yes, sir. So Coach Waldrop does a very good job, and that's what the Geraldine's probably, I would say, their region favorite going into it this year. We have to go to their place. It's going to be a hostile environment. That's the thing that last year it was a 21-14 game with 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and they block a punt.
Right.
And it kind of got away from us a little bit, but I felt like we found out that we could compete with everybody in the region. At that game, we competed that game really well, I felt like, and come up a little short, but they have a lot back. So we're going to find out pretty quick where we are in region play, where we stand at that point. We get Susan Moore at home. Susan Moore, quarterback, graduated, got a good mix of their defensive guys back, line of scrimmage is back, got a big old running back. I think he's a Maldonado kid. He's a very strong runner, big old kid. But it was 7-6 with 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter last year, and it snowballed. And that's the thing we preach to our kids about finishing. So that's the thing, we get them at our place. So once again, Susan Moore finished second.
Right.
So that's kind of where, and they're expected to finish high in the region. So that's an important game that we get it. Fortunately, we get it home, but it's still tough opponent coming to our place. So that's something, once again, where we are, where we stand. We lost both of those last year, Geraldine and Susan Moore. So kind of find out where we are at that point. The next one, Sylvania. Coach Putnam does a great job. They got us at our place, 29-28. It was a barn burner back and forth. They got a lot of kids. They were pretty young. I felt like they got a lot of guys back. To me, last year I thought they would have possibly finished second in the region or had a chance to win it. They got unfortunate injuries at running back and had to overcome some adversity there. By tiebreaker, it kind of put them out, but I think they're going to be right back there having a chance to play for it.
Yeah.
So they got a quarterback back. They got the Ashley kid outside. They got the Anderson kid, some running back. He scored twice on one place. They got a Johnson kid that's a lineman that's pretty good. They've got a Tuttle kid that's a lineman that's pretty good there. They got some young inside linebackers that played. Had a freshman last year. And then a sophomore, I think it started at linebacker position, but it was a pretty physical ball game. So, we got to go to their place, so it'll be a hostile environment. There's just a few miles between us. But so we've got 3 in a row that's we pretty much have to get up off the mat. That's what we preached to our kids last year. We go that stretch, we're 0-3. They were close. We had our chances. I attest to it, not used to winning, hadn't won in the past. We had to get over the hump. Well, then the next we get Plainview at home. Coach Ledbetter does a great job. I had an opportunity to play with him and coach with him when he was there. He came back last year. So that they lost. They had some people to graduation, but they got some young guys, core guys coming back. And, it was a 1-point game, and it was in the mud, the slop. So we have to get back up and compete, win, lose, or draw where we are. This time last year, that game was a play-in pretty much. It was a playoff game where we stood. We had to win to get in because of how it was in the tiebreaker situations, and that's something that, it's going to be a competitive fourth quarter ball game when we play them. So, that's where that one is. We were fortunate enough last year to come out one on top and break the streak that had been there. But that's the same thing this year. We've got to go compete in that one. And then we get North Sand Mountain at home. We get 6 at home this year, which is we were the Road Warriors last year. We're excited about coming back to our place. Coach Coach Kirby does a great job. I played against Coach when he was in school. Got a lot of respect for him and his dad, who used to be the head football coach. He's been the basketball coach there. Got a lot of respect for both Coach Kirby's. They handled us pretty good last year. That was probably the only game that we were out of at the end of the first quarter. It was 40-0 at halftime, and it could have been a lot worse. He kind of took care of us there, but they had a lot of seniors, but they got a lot back. And the quarterback, Landon Green, may be the best quarterback around.
He's good.
He's very good. He's electric when the ball's in his hands. He makes plays happen. To me, it reminds me of Johnny Manziel. The only thing different is he's got long blonde hair. So, but he runs around. You got to make plays. They got a Luna kid that's a running back. They got a wideout that's very electric also. Got some good linemen also coming back. They're going to be successful, competitive in that region. That's something that the 2A region was really good last year. We didn't beat either two guys that we played against in the region that's right below us there. So that's something that they're our neighbor at senior night. So we want to avenge the loss we had last year to them.
I would imagine, just looking at the scores, you was talking about they handled you. I would imagine coming off that Plainview win probably had a lot to do with that, because that was such an emotional game. And
Right.
I know your kids and you invested so much into that. And that was just a really great football game that went right down to the wire. And, of course, Pisgah was able to pull that one out. And a lot of times that takes so much out of you emotionally, you tend to deflate the next week. Of course, I don't know how much of that was that, or, just – I don't want to take anything away from North Sand Mountain, because Coach Kirby, he's done an outstanding job up there, but that tends to happen. We got a few minutes left, and I always I want to close with just kind of letting you talk a little bit about, what has been – like I said, you got a year behind you now at Pisgah. What has been the biggest challenge in your first year as a head coach? And I know, again, there's a lot of that you learn on the job. Of course, you've had the advantage of being the understudy to Dale Pruitt for a lot of years, and that's as good a guy as I can think to learn on the job from as anybody. But now that you've stepped out there and you're the guy, what has been the biggest thing you've learned in your first year, the biggest challenge?
Well, the biggest thing probably just earning or not a challenge, just learning the kids, earning their respect, going to a different place, which I had a connection there because Dad coached there.
Right.
Jeremy went to school there, so the community's been over backwards and helped do whatever I've asked for, and they've gave us everything. Coach Duncan did an outstanding job helping me there, and Miss Whitney Smith, who's our assistant principal, then our new principal, John Prestridge. But just learning the kids and their background, making that connection, just trying to, because when I got there, we didn't have a lot out, and we had to beat the bushes and get them out there. And we had a lot of guys I mentioned earlier were first-year guys that played, were seniors. But that's the thing, just them having to learn about me,
right?
Learn to trust me, and being able to get them out. That was the biggest challenge, because it's unique in Jackson County because you have the middle schools, feeder schools, where if you go right down 71, you start at Macedonia, those kids go to section.
Yep.
Dutton can go to either or, section or Pisgah. Rosalie comes to Pisgah. Flat Rock goes to either North Sand Mountain or Pisgah, and then you got the Bryant kids that go to North Sand Mountain. But just getting out, not only is a Pisgah kids, but then you got a Rosalie kids, we got our Dutton kids, and our Flat Rock kids, and just getting out, they didn't know who I was.
Right.
You had to sell the vision. Sell the vision to there was nothing there, there was nothing to put in place, so we had to roll up our sleeves and get to work, and we've seen some dividends from it for what we've done, and we've established a relationship in those middle schools, and now when I walk down the hall, I'm not the stranger now. Some of them come up and give me a high five and talk to me. That's something that's important. That's probably the biggest challenge we've had. Our kids, when I came in, they did exactly what I asked for them. I couldn't ask anything more than what our kids did to us, or the community. They got the work, and the kids were hungry to win. And I think the morale and the mindset's changed, and we're headed in the right direction.
Well, Coach, our time is just about to wind down, but we want to thank you for coming in, Coach Luke Pruitt, the Pisgah Eagles, and we wish you great success this year. And that's going to do it for this edition of the Mountain Valley News North Jackson Press 2019 football preview.
Building your dream home is one of the great joys in life. At First Southern State Bank, we know construction and mortgage financing, putting today's low rates to work for you. As you and your family move closer to the completion of your new home, we know that your home is where memories are made and families grow stronger year after year. At First Southern State Bank in Rainsville, Scott Kirk stands ready to tailor the right construction loans to meet your needs, along with our staff of experienced loan professionals. Drop by to share your dreams with us today in Rainsville. First Southern State Bank in Rainsville. All the bank you'll ever need.
Folks, this is Andy White down here at Bobby Ledbetter's Twin City in Fort Payne, Alabama. I want to invite everybody to come out to our new location. We're at 1411 Glen Boulevard, right where you turn to go on Airport Road. We've got plenty of inventory for you to choose from. I got cars, trucks, vans, sport utility vehicles of any make and model. Come down here and visit us. Let us see what we can do for you. If you got some slow credit, I've got some banks that'll take care of that. We've got great financing, got a great selection of cars. Y'all come down here and see us.
Don't take the first deal that comes along when you can do better at BobbyLedbetter.com and Twin City Used Car Sales, located at 1411 Glen Boulevard in South Fort Payne.